Hey everybody. So we're going to try this for the first time. I do a lot of book reviews, graphic novel reviews on Twitter. A lot of times I use hashtag Smythe Reads. I do things on Facebook and things, but that's often not enough. You only get so many characters, and you really can't get across the emotion of these sources. So um, these books here, when I sent out a tweet about them, and I know they're on the screen too, but when I sent out a tweet about these today, it just wasn't enough to describe the awesomeness and the educational opportunities that are available in these books. So if you all like these, I'll do more. We'll see what happens. So these two books, The Imaginary Voyages of Edgar Allan Poe, they're two parts of a trilogy. So the story's not done yet, but you can buy both now. By my friends at Hocus Pocus Comics. I've never met anyone who knows more about Edgar Allan Poe than Dwight McPherson and his wife Rebecca, who are just amazing people. So not only are these great stories, which I'll tell you about, but if you do buy these books, and you can go to their website, and I'll share that in a second, you're also supporting an independent creator team, a family team, and so really it's a win-win. But imagine if in your classroom you're going to start teaching about Edgar Allan Poe, and you pull these books out. Now, you don't have to use these, like you don't have to buy a class set, although it'd be great if you did, but you don't have to buy a class set. You could, like I do, when I teach about something, I put out lots of different books on the subject. So we're not saying, of course, that you read this graphic novel instead of Poe. Um, but wow, can you hook kids and get them to read even more? And that's what we want. So just reading the back of Volume 1, Edgar Allan Poe has lost everyone he ever loved, and now he is losing his mind. Haunted by his wife's ghost and his literary failures, the poet tumbles into a fantastical world of mythological gods and monsters created by his genius and his madness. I mean, where were these books when I was a kid, right? And Poe is fascinating all by himself. Edgar Allan Poe doesn't need any help to pull kids in, right? We pull them out at Halloween and other things too. And we talk about detective stories and short stories and things like this. But imagine if you begin your conversation with something like this. And here's why we do it. We want students to take control, to take ownership of these stories. We want them to know that they're open to interpretation, whether it's a comic, a hip hop song, a movie, Shakespeare himself and his stories. And so, what makes these stories timeless? So, how can we reimagine these stories? What connections can we make with these stories? So, when we first came across these books, I showed them to my daughter, my oldest Charlotte. Again, there's our hashtag Smythe Reads if you want to read them on Twitter, or on teachingwithcomics.com, which is our website. Charlotte loves books, and we live in a house full of books. So for her to want to write a review about a particular book really speaks volumes. And so you can see here where she is absolutely fascinated with Greek mythology. Excuse me. We went and saw Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief at Broadway. It's one of the only times I've been to Broadway. I mean, you engage us when they're interested in history and mythology and literature, and you go with it. And so these are her words. She wrote these words about the book that she read. And I can't tell you how happy I am that these books are out there. So Dwight and Rebecca's website is hpcomics.net. And I think the hocus pocus really is the fact that you don't even know that you're reading when you read these engaging types of literature. I mean, we've got a book on Houdini Elevator, which is a scary type of a story. I mean, there's all different things. And again, you're helping a creative family team. And that's what we need to do, especially in these times. So I'm going to do other topics. One of the topics that would be on this would be other reimaginings. And there's lots of graphic novels and comics based on this. One of my favorites is Romeo and Juliet, The War from Stan Lee. Pull this out in ninth grade when we teach Romeo and Juliet. This tells us that Shakespeare is timeless, that you can take a cybernetically enhanced and biologically enhanced family and they can't be together because of their differences. So the same storyline. Or you take Gareth Hines' Romeo and Juliet, a beautiful story as well, reimagined, and you're talking about representation now, right? You don't have to have white characters. And so that's the power of comics. But I'll talk more about those another time. Or we can talk about adaptations. The most powerful graphic novel adaptation I've ever read is the Speak graphic novel. My wife and I actually wrote the teacher's guide, freely available online. I'd be happy to share it with you. My email address is historycomicsguy@gmail.com. You can see me on Twitter. I'm at historycomics. And I'd be happy to share that with you, or you could look it up, Speak Graphic Novel Teacher's Guide. But I learned more. I was afraid that you take a book like this that's beloved by so many and you put it in a graphic novel and what's going to happen. But the way that Emily Carroll, a haunting artist, redid this, I actually learned more and got more out of the graphic novel than I did from the prose. But again, that's another topic. We'll talk about that down the road. So here's the opening of The Imaginary Voyages of Edgar Allan Poe. Right, so already we've got the black cat. Already we've got the spooky background. Already we've got a lot of visual interest going on here. And so once upon a midnight jury, while I pondered weak and weary. So here's how we begin. And you can ask your students, and I would highly encourage after this, reimagine one of Poe's stories in a different way. Create a comic, and you don't even have to draw it. You can use something like Pixton Comics EDU, an online app that I use in my own classroom. So students can create their own original comics, but it takes away the art fear. It takes away the differences in levels and things. Again, we'll talk more about that. So Edgar Allan Poe falls asleep. And so this is just in the first 2 pages. All of a sudden now, what's going on? Is this imaginary? Is this real? What's going on? And we get into that. Dwight gets into this in the book. And Poe's trying to figure this out too. And wouldn't you love to get inside of Poe's head? Right? Like, talk about somebody who I would love to meet, somebody who I would love to know what was going on in his head, like Stephen King too. Oh. But like, here's 2 pages and you got them. You got the kids. What's going on? What's happening? Why are they running? I mean, it sets the theme and the pattern immediately. There's lots of Easter eggs throughout this book, historically accurate to pointing to different pieces of literature. And the students can read through these books and who can find the most and how can they find them? Or, hey, reach out to Dwight and ask him. Dwight's awesome. He loves education. He got into this because of his own kids. And that's the magic of social media. So again, I don't want to make this too long, and I don't want to share all of Dwight's amazing images and the different artists that he had working on this. But come on. I mean, come on. You've got Edgar Allan Poe, and initially he's called Edgar Allan Poe, Mr. Poe. I mean, I just cracked my own son up, and me too. But look at the imagery here, right? I mean, I was impressed when The Simpsons did Nevermore, right? And Bart Simpson was a raven. But look at this. Like, oh my gosh. Like, it's amazing. So you've got all different kinds of settings. So I when I read this, I'm thinking Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings. I'm thinking like epic saga, Clash of the Titans. Remember that movie, the original movie, right? With the little metal owl and all that stuff. Like, this is what's going through my own head. Aquaman, the Avengers, like, this is all here in this epic Poe saga. Like, you could only do this in a comic. Here's one that, so we're going through Poe's mind, literally or metaphorically, or who knows, who are in these images? Who would be the people in Poe's minds that would be in these paintings? So again, lots of educational type things that we can do with these books. Oh, sorry about that. I put that one behind. But anyway, you get the idea here. With the Greek gods, you've got Queen Lenore, my favorite poem. Oh, just devastating poem. And you've got Thor in here. And you've got all these things that are going on. King Odin. I mean, the kids are going to make these connections. They're easily going to make these connections. And so, again, these books, go to HB Comics, and I'll share more if you like these videos. I'll try to figure these out to the best of my ability. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I need to figure out how I get this recording to stop. And there we go. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you guys later.